Hey everybody, Big Andrew here, World's Strongest Phlebotomist, with a thought from my home gym today, in my home gym training. My thought from the bench, brought to you by Upgrade Fitness and Wellness Consulting and Victory Fit Gym in Jonesboro, Tennessee. Victory Fit's a great place. They sponsor me. They're sponsoring my rise back into competitive strongman and my chase for the podium at World Strength Games in Utah here in less than 90 days. Going to be a great show. I'm really looking forward to it, and I thank the people, Jesse and Tanya over there that own Victory Fit Gym, as they have been such a big help to let me come back and to sponsor me for this competition. Upgrade Fitness and Wellness, of course, is a company I mentioned before. It's a company I'm getting started here in Tennessee, working on helping people find ways to get better and to be the best that they can be. Like it says in my graffiti art here, you know, there's only one life, there's no plan B. This is the only life you get. This is all you have. This is the only body you get. You don't have a second chance. So you might as well live this life the best way that you possibly can. Now, I addressed this in an earlier podcast, so I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, but you've only got this one chance. You've got to take care of this one chance you have. And that's what Upgrade Fitness and Wellness is all about. Now, I know you can see this dangly thing right here. I'm going to address that here in just a minute, and that's really the subject of what today's thought from the bench is. But I want to talk to you a little bit about some things that have been going on in my life recently that I haven't really had time to make any of these videos. I am the world's strongest phlebotomist. That's what I go by. And if you look it up on Google or in social media, my stuff will probably come up. It's my title. That's what I go by. I'm the world's strongest phlebotomist. I am a full-time phlebotomist at a local hospital, working out of the lab in the night shift. And wasn't what I always planned on doing, but it's what I'm doing now. And I've been in fitness. I was in fitness for a long time. And I was a trainer and a coach, and I had my own training business. And I coached PE and various sports at the high school level and things like that, and really enjoyed it. I mean, I love doing it. But I felt a pull towards wellness, and I thought, well, how can I get into wellness? And I did some different things and mobility and stuff, and really enjoyed learning about that. And excuse me, hiccups. Really enjoyed learning about that and learning about how the body can be made better through mobility training. And I did that for a while. Really enjoyed my time working with clients. And then the opportunity was dropped in my lap to go into healthcare. In my lap and on my head, like it just hit me hard. And so several months ago, I finished up all my training and everything I needed to be a phlebotomist, and now I work at a hospital, local hospital. Now, I didn't want to work at a hospital originally. I wanted to work in a clinic, so I'd have my weekends free. But I work every weekend now at a hospital on the night shift. And it's a good job. And I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about people and healthcare. I'm learning about it from the inside. I'm learning how they treat people, how they diagnose people. I'm learning a lot of things like that. I'm learning how to deal with different kinds of people. When people are sick, they're different than when they're not sick. And it doesn't matter how sick they are. If they're just a little sick or a lot sick, sometimes they are completely different. You meet people who, you know, they're so friendly, they're so sweet, they're so nice, and then they're sick and like, oh my goodness, everything's terrible, nobody loves me, the whole world is falling apart. Now, legitimately, there's some people who have horrible sicknesses, and I've seen some terrible things in the hospital. Terrible things that I can't go into any detail beyond just saying there were terrible things and heartbreaking things in the hospital. But there are some real crybabies out there. And these people are crybabies and they're whining because they didn't take care of themselves 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And now they think that the world owes them something because of whatever. And the world doesn't owe them anything. You got sick because you didn't take care of yourself. Now it's time to start taking care of yourself. And most doctors, their first reaction is to diagnose and prescribe. And most of the time that prescription is like a pill or some other treatment of some kind. It's not always something like, hey, maybe you should try to get your steps in. Try to eat more green leafy vegetables. Try to eat more protein. Stop frying your vegetables and making squash casserole and counting that as a vegetable. I don't care what Cracker Barrel says. Macaroni and cheese is not a vegetable. It's just not. The fact that it's on their veggie menu is retarded. It's a lot of problems with the way things like that are done. So they're just like, hey, how about we just give you this pill? Why not? Let's just give you this pill. Let's put you on this prescription for the rest of your freaking life. And they take this pill, and then they take that pill, and they take this pill, and they take that pill, and they expect it to fix everything. And then it causes more problems a lot of times because they end up with medications crossing lines and causing side effects and stuff like that cause more problems. And I see that now in the hospital. And the more I study about it, the more I listen to podcasts and listen to interviews and read and study and learn, the more I realize that there is a place for upgrade fitness and wellness consulting. People need that. I'm not saying that doctors do a terrible job. Doctors work hard with the information that they have to do the best that they can for people. I think doctors are wonderful people by and large. And I think medication has its place. But like the saying goes, you can't outrun a bad diet and you can't out-medicate a bad way of life. So maybe it's time for a change. But let's get away from that for now. Let's talk about this dangly thing right here. Today's thought from the bench. It's all about creativity. Now I was going to bring it out here with me. We homeschooled our kids, and my oldest had to do a poetry quiz recently. Now, if you're unfamiliar with that, poetry is like art, and it's a bunch of words on paper that often rhyme. Now that we've got that covered, a quiz is when you are given information and then you are asked to repeat that information to see if you retained that information. So she had this poetry quiz where she had to memorize this poem. I think it was Oliver Wendell Holmes. I don't remember exactly. But she had to memorize this poem. It was a 4-stanza poem. And then she had to write it out, verse by verse. And she got to the 4th verse and her mind blanked. It just completely blanked. And it happens to everybody, right? We'll work so hard on something, we work and we study and we learn and we try to memorize, and then we forget something. And she's a smart kid. She just forgot. She forgot the last verse she was writing it. But so she wrote a line from her favorite song. She was writing all this beautiful 19th century poetry, and then the last stanza went, rising up, back on his feet, took his time, took his chances, and she wrote the beginning to Eye of the Tiger at the end of it, finding out that the meter and measure of all 4 stanzas now is the exact same. And it was really funny to read that when she turned it in. I read it and I thought it was so hilarious. It took some creativity to come up with that. I mean, she knew the poem and she knows the song. It's her favorite song. She loves that song. But it took some creativity to put that together and to turn it in, and to say, hey, I tried, It was hilarious. Sometimes in our fitness journeys, in our life, we have to get creative. This right here is a band. It's a stretchy band. This is a 65-pound tension stretchy band. So when it's stretched, it gives about 65 pounds of tension back, and I have it hooked to a loop that I put up here on the ceiling of the garage, and my wife will come out here with this band and will attach it to that loop, and she will do exercises with it. She will do presses, tricep presses, maybe overhead, straight down, things like that. She does different things with it, and is building her strength. She's set some goals now. She set a squat goal last year, and she made it. And now she has an overhead press goal that she set, and she has a squat goal for later in the year that she wants to make. And with her overhead press goal, she's working on building more tricep strength and more of the rotator cuff strength and stuff like that, and building balance. And I'm coaching her through it, giving her some pointers and some tips on how to make these things. And I'm very proud of her, but she's had to get a little creative. This is my garage gym. This is not a commercial gym. This is a bunch of weights, a bunch of bars, and a bunch of dirt and blood and rust all over the place, and I have a piano over there in the corner for no reason. And then I got kegs back here, chains, and I don't have a rack. I have this stand right here. So if I do rack pulls, I've got jack stands. I've got like these 6-ton jack stands or something like that, like from Goodyear, that I use. And they're tires and stuff like that. And it's the size of a small garage, It's not got a ton of equipment. And I don't have a pec deck. I don't have a leg press. I don't have room to do overheads standing up. I got to sit if I'm gonna do overheads, or take my stuff outside and do it in the yard. I don't have any of those things like you would in a commercial gym. So you got to get creative, and it's fun. It's a challenge, When you're training strongman, strongman is a very creative sport. It's always just lifting the weirdest stuff possible, carrying fire hydrants for distance, or loading them onto the back of a truck, or the yoke. Oh my goodness, the yoke. It's got to be the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen in the world. The dumbest creation. I love it. I love yoke. I love training for yoke. I love running yoke. I'm getting my numbers back up on yoke for my competition coming up in May. I love yoke. It's just dumb looking, but it's so hard to do. It is so fun. Deadlifting different things, like cars and stones and tires and whatever, that's what strongman is. It's all about being creative. And sometimes you got to get creative. You could be in your fitness journey right now. Maybe you're kind of stalled. Maybe you hit a goal, or you're 3 pounds away from that goal, and you've been stalled for a month, and you're trying really hard. It's not necessarily like smoking a brisket. If you smoke a brisket, you have 2 options when you get to a certain point. There's a point in a brisket called a stall. Now, this stall is a time when the internal temperature that you want to get to 195, 205, something like that, stalls. It's usually, from everything that I can find, like 165, 170, somewhere in there. A lot of times it'll stall. And you have 2 options. You can take it out at the stall, wrap it in butcher paper, and put it back. Maybe butcher paper in full, and put it back. And the internal temperature will go up. And you put it back in the smoker and let it go for a little while. And eventually you'll get to that 205. Or you can just let it sit there. And it might stall for an hour, hour and a half. But eventually it'll break that stall and it will move on. Fitness isn't always like that. It isn't always this way of you can have a fix that you know is going to work, like wrapping it in butcher paper, or this thing where you can just keep doing the same thing, ignore it, and it'll fix itself. Sometimes you got to get creative. Let's say you've got a squat goal. You want to squat 300 pounds by the summer. You know, it's February now, the end of February. Let's say you want to squat 300 pounds by the summer. So that's the end of May, right? Let's say the end of May. And right now you're sitting at 175. So you set up this program, or you get somebody to set up a program. If you do the same single every week, you do the same lift every single week, you might get to 300 by the end of May. It could happen. But if every 3 or 5 weeks you don't program in some sort of deload or rest week where you get a little creative and kind of get outside the box, maybe instead of doing squats, you'll do a front squat or Bulgarians or Zerchers or something, you know, just kind of move things around a little bit. If you don't get a little creative, you're not going to make the progress. You're not. If you've studied at all the conjugate method of weightlifting, the book, The Conjugate Method, is popularized by Westside Barbell by Louis Sim. It's a great book. You can find it on Amazon, and they don't sponsor me at all. I'm just going to tell you, Conjugate Method is a great method. There's a whole part in there where they discuss using different bars to achieve success, so that you train from different angles. Oftentimes you would set out how much weight you were going to do, like, you know, our squat's going to get to 500 this week. Okay, 500 is the weight this week. And then that morning at breakfast, they'll sit down and they would eat, and they would decide which bar are we going to use. Are we going to use a long bar? Are we going to use a traditional, like Ohio or Texas bar, like a traditional barbell, like this is a Texas bar? Are we going to use a safety squat, a spider squat? Are we going to use a Duffalo bar, one of those kind of curved ones, you know? Which bar do we use? And it got creative. And that creativity is what keeps the mind and the body engaged. So that's what it's all about. It's creativity. You got to get creative with things. You got to move and do things in different ways. I have a max effort yoke coming up in May. And like I said earlier, I love the yoke. But I'm not doing a lot of max weight training on the yoke right now. Right now, I'm building up my tolerance. I'm doing lighter yokes for distance, you know, a couple 100 pounds, and going the distance. Trying not to drop it. Today, I put it down a couple times on my last round, but try not to drop it. Try to just keep moving, keep that endurance up, get that central nervous system firing. And then here soon, I'll start doing heavier and heavier things. And we'll get that built back up so I can get that heavy yoke. Good thing is, this is not a yoke for speed, this is a yoke for distance. So I just have to pick something up and carry it 50 feet, which should be doable. But gotta get creative. So get creative, you know. Figure something out that you can do that's creative. Find something that's going to change the way you view or do things in a way that's beneficial to your goals. All right, guys. I guess I've been here long enough. Coming up on a 20-minute podcast. It's one of my longer videos. And hopefully I can get back to doing these again soon. I wish you all the best. And see you next time.